Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on wherever you are. My name is Karima, and marketing that converts is the topic that I use for these videos. I'm currently streaming live to Facebook, but I also have quite a number of videos sitting on my YouTube account. So I encourage you to go to karimar.com and investigate them. This video is part of my website platform behind the scenes sequence that I've been doing, and today what I want to do is take you behind the scenes of a Squarespace account. Now I do have Squarespace accounts, and I also build in Squarespace for clients. I need to give you the proviso about me is that I am not a lover of Squarespace. I'll tell you that. I build in it. I don't build sites from scratch in it. If someone comes to me and says, I want a new website, I'm going to send them to either WordPress or Wix, depending on the needs of their business for a full build. I tend not to do full builds for no particular reason other than I'm a WordPress person, and I sometimes do a bit of Wix for the bottom end of the market. And also I believe personally, from my experience as a marketer building websites that will convert, is that I just don't think Squarespace is a solid enough platform for the full-on e-commerce experience, being able to do the marketing that things like Shopify and WordPress offer us if you were doing a full e-commerce website. I'm a Shopify builder as well, I meant to say. My approach has always been use the platform that's going to give you the most bang for your buck for what it is you are trying to do. And you'll hear me say over and over and over again in groups, work out what your needs are before you go looking for the platform that you think you should be doing it on, whether that's a learning management system or whether that's a website or whether that's advertising. No matter what it is, sit back and say, well, what do I want to achieve here? And what are the pros, what are the cons, and then go looking at the piece of software that will match that. So let's go into shared screen. This one. So what I was going to do today was show you a good way to investigate Squarespace. I love Squarespace for one really good reason, and that is start your free Start your free website trial today. No credit card required. You can, I think it's 14 days if memory serves me correctly. You can go in there, you can have a play around the back end of Squarespace. You can actually make all the mistakes you need to make and then dump that account. Just make sure you don't set it up in an email address that you later on want to use in Squarespace. So get yourself a cheap Gmail to do it in. You can actually go see the products. Yes, they heavily sell themselves for e-commerce. As I said, in my opinion, it's not the best place for e-commerce. You can go and have a look at the templates that they offer. I do quite like the fact that they'll give you a bit of guidance as to which what's your topic. That'll give you a bit of an idea about some of the, because they've got hundreds, probably thousands of templates, or you can skip this. What are your top goals? Again, what do you want to have? So they're giving a nice filter system to their templates. Where are you in your process? Blah 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 blah. So type online store, portfolio. There's all sorts of things you can do. So let's go into, where was I? Whoops. So let's get started. So we're back to the same spot. So let's do an membership. What do I want? Let's go to all templates. No, let's go to, let me think. What do I want? What do I want to? Nature and animals. So each of these You can preview. So go down this rabbit hole and see how many hours you waste going and having a look. Great place to also go if you, no matter what you're building in, whether it's WordPress or whether it's Shopify or Wix or Weebly or anywhere, many of these sort of like template sites you can go to, the better, because it will give you really good ideas of how things are being put together as templates, but it won't necessarily show you templates that definitely convert. Usually when I end up with these templates, I end up having to do a fair bit of changes to them to make to get them into a website that will actually convert. Let's do this one. I quite like this one. So we're going to start with Vance. And let's do it with an email. I don't think I've used this one before. So it's just getting things set up. So just so this is what you would be doing, even if you know, when it comes time you say, well, I'm going to use Squarespace. This is what you would be doing to get started with it. I quite like this sort of thing. Edit pages next. Create pages next. This is just a little style your site, right? So this is a basic Squarespace backend. It's got pages, it's got design, has commerce, marketing, scheduling. They own Acuity, so you'll have an automatic link up to Acuity within this, although it's not free. It's not part of your Squarespace's account. If you want to do anything top end in Acuity, you've actually got to pay for it as an add-on. The asset library, oh, thank God they brought in one of those, because it was really hard to find assets. Analytics is your classic. Show me again, like, you know, they do a lot of help me get started, take a tour sort of stuff, which I usually go straight past. You know, all the sort of data, last 30 days, the usual sort of stuff. It's a 14-day trial, so upgrade now to get the most out of your site. So you've got 14 days to play around with. I'm not sure after the 14 days if they ask you and you've got another 14 days, but traffic. It's got a reasonable amount of traffic stuff in it. They've certainly got better over the years. SEO checklist, connect to Google Search Console. Where are your people coming from? Obviously, there's no products in here. Sales by products, purchase funnel, abandoned cart. It's got better. It absolutely has got better, but I still believe if I was doing full-on e-commerce, I would not be using this, because I believe Shopify is the full-on e-commerce place to be. Traffic sources. Now, you can get all of these, so much of this sort of information in a lot more depth from Google Analytics. So I would generally be connecting Google Analytics up to any site anyway. This is pretty light on when it comes to really wanting to know what's going on the site. But it's always good to have two places where you can compare the analytics. Although I connect Google Analytics up to everything, I don't mind insights that are behind the back end of the website platform, because I've got 2 points of measurement, and I always believe that with the 2 points, I can see whether there's huge differences between them or whether they're agreeing with each other. The thing I don't like about this is the ability to do an awful lot of retargeting on it. The actual marketing ability to actually go and really know. I'm going to get rid of your. I need to get rid of this. There it is. Get rid of this because it's going to drive me insane. Where do you start with on a Squarespace? Well, when I'm playing around, who knows? I usually start by going in and having a look at each of these profiles, of those customers, subscribers, leads, that sort of thing. Again, this is one area where they have upped their game in Squarespace settings. I would probably go in, if this was my real account, I would go in and certainly set all this up properly for the real account. You know, date, time, currency, etc., etc. Regional settings. Time zones are really important because you want to make sure that the data you've been given, the analytics you've been given, are in the right time zone. Social links. I would be wanting to add the social links that are in there. So add a social link. Okay. I don't actually have my LinkedIn account opened. Just nice because it's automatically picked up the icon. Why it didn't add it up to there, I don't know. That's interesting. I would have expected it to add it up to, oh yeah, now it has. Okay. Connected accounts. What do you want to connect to it? Facebook, Google search, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Tumblr. How do you want to connect it? That is a bit limited compared to some of the other platforms. This is if you have an extension. If the baseline Squarespace theme you've chosen doesn't have one of the extensions you want, then you can add on. It's a bit like a Shopify model. You can add on something, you know, something starting at $5 a month by Squarespace, email, business tools. This is a bit live chat. These are quite limited. If you go into WordPress or Shopify, there's like zillions of these. Shipping and fulfillment. I mean, if you've got, say, you know, a single product, then it could be a place to go. In my opinion, Squarespace is really good for the informational sites. I see a lot of marketers and a lot of VAs that will start with a Squarespace site. It's a good place to go in and have a play around with it and work out what it is you need to say to people, and just to play with. Invite contributor, add basic author. I'm on a free account, so it's not going to happen. Domains is where you would connect up a domain. So I hear a lot of people say my website and they give me a domain URL. The thing is, a domain name and a website are two completely separate entities. The domain name is usually either attached to the website because you're going to get a domain here via Squarespace. It's going to take you across to here, and it's going to get you to grab a domain, and they're just working with a domain registrar that they've got the ability, they've put an inbuilt link into this to put it all in one. If you looked here before, it also said use a domain I own. Now you might have gone to GoDaddy, or you might have gone to Crazy Domains, or JoeBlogsDomains.com. And already own one. It's two schools of thought. One school of thought is if you use the domain, if the user get a domain and it's already sitting in with your Squarespace account or your Square account or your Shopify account or they're the only ones that do it that way. WordPress does it differently. Then if there's a problem with that account, you also lose access to the domain. The other school of thought is that the domain is on with a separate host, like GoDaddy or Crazy Domains or whoever, then you have more control over it. You can actually make that domain point at multiple places. So if for some reason you might have a domain that you want to point to a Squarespace site and to a WordPress site and to a Shopify site. Whereas on here, if you use the domain, if you get a domain from them, that's it. You're stuck there. You can very rarely have that domain pointing anywhere else. So give some thought to, back to the same thing. So you'll hear my, people by now who hear enough of what I say know that I have a what is your strategy comment going all the time. Have a little thought about what you want, ultimately what your business structure is going to look like. The other thing about not controlling the domain down here is you want sometimes to let's just see, sometimes you might want 2 or so domains pointing to the one site. That might be, particularly here in Australia, you might want I own petcaremagic.com. I also own petcaremagic.com.au. So you might want both of those pointing to the one site. You might, there's various reasons why you have multiple domains. So sometimes that, select provider. So here's all the different providers you can use. Sometimes having a domain not connected with, Shopify on there? No, they don't. Having the domain not connected on there with via the Squarespace infrastructure can be an advantage. So give it some thought. Nothing is, I tend to say nothing is ever unchangeable, but I've never gone and tried to connect a external domain to a site when it's already sitting there. So I would have to do a bit of, if you think that's going to be an option, and you're going to buy a Squarespace domain and sit it in the account, and you may also want another one looking, then I suspect, and I'd say to you, go and read this. You purchase a domain and still use the fees of running private domain mapping. Yeah, you can manage multiple domains. Last time I did this, it was with Square, not Squarespace, and it was quite a convoluted process. You can use multiple domains on one or more Squarespace when I register. Yeah, so you can. So it's worth reading that if you're going to want to play around with various domains. So domains. Now, all of this, connecting a domain and all that, you don't need to do it. You can build a Squarespace site. It'll be on there. See this one? Because it's a test. Because it's a test site, they've just whacked in a sort of weird Squarespace name. So you can go and actually, you could fully build the site and not transfer and link the domain over until later. So I often do a lot of work where people have got a site already up and running somewhere else, like maybe it's a Wix site and they now want to go to Squarespace. So we just leave it up and running where it is, and at the final, when this site's finished here, we then disconnect the domain from that other site. They then either cancel the account or do what they want to do with it, and then the domain is put on over, is actually then connecting with the Squarespace. So that's sort of things that you do later on. Google Workspace. No. Connect a domain on Google Workspace account. Okay, fair enough. Billing, that's obvious. Mobile information bar. Show a simple number of mobile devices. Now, because this is a add device settings, business information. Okay, fair enough. As you can see, I'm doing a lot of right click, so I didn't lose the page that I was on. So contact phone number. Contact email. Physical location, business name, blah, blah, blah. Address, blah, blah, blah. City, state. I'm going to like the blah, blah, blahs. Save. Okay, so let's go back to this. Show email. So you usually have to refresh when you've done something like that, because the browser has taken a it's taken an image of what was there before. I don't have any business hours. So save, what does that do? There's an awful lot of, oh, there it is, see it? There, email, call, map. This particular says a mobile information bar. Simple notification, try to visit on mobile devices. Will appear at the bottom, giving access, directions, hours, email, and a phone number. So this is a particular aspect that is built into this particular theme. So this is something you need to do when you're looking at themes. You need to, and this is why I do like going around and playing with various themes before I settle on any of them. Why is that not coming up now? There it is. Okay, email, call, map. Right. So let's get rid of any of those. Just because I like to be pedantic. This is a test site. I don't know what's being left on there, and I don't want any of my stuff left on there. So mobile information bar, cancel, back to settings. Cookie, so do you want a cookie banner? Do you want to, what do you want to disable? What do you want to show? Most of these are, you'll find that some of these do vary a little bit depending on the theme you're using. Blogging, what do you want? Your blogging, do you want comments or not? Honestly, I would turn comments off. All you're going to get is garbage. You're going to get spam. No one comments on blogs anymore. And then there's all sorts of different external stuff that we would use if we're trying to sometimes connect in things that don't have native connections in. Profile settings. So let's go back to the pages. This is where I find Squarespace quite difficult to deal with, and where if you're not used to a Squarespace, you would be wanting to go and do a bit of background reading first. So they have this weird main navigation, which is here, which is our story, menu, photos, and make a reservation. And then they have all these not linked, and trying to get things to sit on the navigation. It's just this weird, I come from a WordPress background, remember? It's just this weird way of doing things and having portfolios and things sort of sitting. It's where I struggle when I'm on Squarespace. But if you're used to using Squarespace, then you won't have any problem. So let's look at our story. That's just a demo page. So because this is a template, it's pulled in some degree of information. So this is where it's really important to choose the template that's going to be as close as you can to what you want your final site to look like. That's the big trick I find with a lot of even WordPress. If people go in and they just choose anything and think, well, I'll change it later. The thing with template-driven sites, whether it's WordPress with Elementor, WordPress with Divi, it's much better to get a template site as close as possible to what you think you want it to look like. So, you know, this is a restaurant style one. There's no way I'd be using this if I was doing e-commerce. So it's got quite a nice little restaurant thing embedded in it. That's obviously a plugin. Find a table. Permanently closed. All right. 7 times has partners that free security on reservations. All right. So you can add a blank page. You can add page layout. The big thing to look at with templated websites is things like your headers. The headers are the spot that's really, really often quite difficult to play with. I don't know why that didn't come up. Okay, there it is. This is where Squarespace gets me a little bit. This just has some really glitchy, funny things. So that's quite nice. And that's much, in my opinion, that's much better than the template I've chosen. But it is picking up, it's picking up the design settings. It's picking up all of the fonts, the automatic font sizes. These boxes always drive me insane. It's picking up the global settings. So you can always change something. So there'll be every template is always set up with like global controls. What would be the font everywhere on the page? Now that doesn't mean you're stuck with that font, because you know, headings will be one font, buttons will be a different font. The heading global says, yeah, I know about that. This is a title. This is different title. This is the bit where most people get lost. Now, it is important that all your calls to actions, which are generally your buttons, are identical, and that's where you do want global settings. See how this has got make it there, which is a transparent background with black text and then a white on hover, where this is not. This is transparent background with blue on hover, whereas this is white on hover. It's really important for conversion point of view that these are identical. And this is where template designers usually go astray. Now that looks really clever. This one will make it white on hover. This one will make it blue on hover. The problem is, to the human eye, that is a different call to action. Now that's okay if you want a different call to action, but generally you don't. If you want them to do the one thing, you know, that if that's going to the same call to action and doing the same call to action as what this is, then it needs to be an identical button. And then they've gone back to white. Do I start with all the global settings and then go back and do it? Yeah, I'm not real good at that. I'm really good at mucking around, going, I want that to look like this, and next thing I know, I've got individual settings on different pages, and I've used one font on one page and another font on another page. That's not good. You need to be disciplined. So that's where most people get pretty lost. They get lost with all of the global settings versus the individual settings. And even like I finished the rebuild of my own website the other day and went, okay, that's it, done. And then forgot about the favicons and forgot about the SEO and forgot about this, and this, and this. You know, there's always little bits. So pages, if we want to edit this page here, we want to go to edit. So this is, if you've got an old Squarespace site, you find you don't necessarily have this sort of some of this stuff. So this is the bit that you really need to get your head around how easy it is for you to use this, because if it's not, then you're going to have problems. Now, it's come a long way since it used to be there. The thing I don't like about it is it's not, in my opinion, and this is why I wanted to play with this as well, it's not quite, no, it's got better now in terms of the flexibility of stuff that you can add. There's a site I've been working on, it's an older Squarespace site, and I hate these hints. And it's really hard. I ended up with a button here, and I wanted to put a button right side by side beside it, and I couldn't because it was an older template done in an older site. Whereas I noticed they'd fixed that. So I don't know. Blah 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 blah. I do a lot of blah blah blahs. Done. Do you want to save your changes? There isn't manual. There isn't automatic saving on this. Thank God sometimes. So do you want to manually save the section? Do you want to manually save everything you've done to the page? I do notice now that you can actually save the section. You can duplicate the section. You can move the section up or down. Can you save it as? Be nice to save sections view. Yeah, you can actually now save individual sections. So that saves you a lot of time if you want to come back and put that same thing, because we do that often, particularly with, say, call to action buttons. A call to action, you know, you might have a long line, a long piece of color with the text sitting on it with a button beside it, and you want to put that on every page. It's not a footer, but it wants to go on every page. So that's these save sections are quite good. That's new. So they've come a long way. How do we edit section? Background. So you want to. So here's where the whole background went in. The question always is, careful with some of these fiddly things. Background art will only appear in browsers that support WebGL, so not all browsers will support that. Can I upload? Place. Upload file, yes. Select from library, browse stock images. It's thinking, and thinking. Okay, that's quite nice. Save. The thing that I always found problematic in alignment in Squarespace is trying to really do paddings and things. They've improved that somewhat. but it just doesn't have this gap bit's a bit weird. It doesn't have the flexibility of WordPress, particularly when you're dealing with WordPress with something like Elementor sitting on it. Elementor is just miles ahead of any of the. This is a page builder, is what they're trying to do, but it's just not got anything that like what Elementor sitting on WordPress does. Yeah, remember, I'm a WordPress person, so I'm always going to be tough on Squarespace. So if like I really wanted to, yeah, they've improved. They've really improved. Look better. If I really wanted to bring this, okay, yeah, they have got a lot better. Still wouldn't make me use it on a very complicated site. So it's all about playing. There's an undo, which I rather like, and undo again, and I can discharge. I can discharge the changes if I really have gone down a rabbit hole and I really hate it. Now, this not linked pages has always got me confused. What I want to do, I don't know what I want to do on here is, the thing that's always been hard on Squarespace is adding premium open table. Is adding things like portfolios and carousels of text and that sort of style of thing. Forms easy, audio, newsletter, line, quote, map, embed, markdown, code, summary, calendar, social links, chart, accordion. Okay, that's better than it used to be. Let's add a section. Where are we? So if you had like a lot of blogs in here and you wanted to show only the blogs, a case in point, I was redoing my own website the other day, and I have a lot of blogs that are what I call light reading, and other blogs that are case studies, and other blogs that are portfolio items. And to be able to do a query button. So what I've got in various spots on my website is that only the blogs that are case studies show up in this bit, in this section here. Only the blogs that are portfolio show up in this bit here. Only the blogs that are light reading show up in here, or there's a page where everything shows up together. So doing that sort of querying is what I've always found. That's what I've found. Things like Squarespace and Wix tend to fall down. Search tag, content link. Select a page and create a visual link to it. Why would I want to create a visual link to a page within here? Okay, I thought I had. Why has that not worked? Not working. So just think about how complicated your website wants to get later on. This whole linked main navigation versus not linked, I just don't like the way Squarespace does that. Can you move that up? Yeah, you can. Home, navigation link, URL slide, enable page. It's just set as your home page, turn off some other pages, add a password, duplicate page. SEO. You've got to go and have your mail. You should run it as confirm. They've certainly got better on SEO. I still think they've got a long way to go. And see, I don't like the fact that I ended up there and now I've got to find my way back here. You got to go and set the images that come up when you go push any of these pages to a social menu, to a social site. That's just, yeah. This bit is quite limited. And we use this a lot in this sort of stuff in advanced marketing. And on Squarespace, in my opinion, this is all in my opinion, this is quite limited. You're getting the same thing there. Scheduling, blog, store, portfolio. So you're very rarely going to do a portfolio on its own like that. You're going to generally want that embedded within one of these pages. So can you move that up? No. In the old-fashioned Squarespace before this, you sort of moved it up and you had it as not as a separate page. Edit footer, they've improved that. What was that one I did a minute ago? They've certainly improved that bit out of sight. On the old sites, you had to do a lot of weird spaces and things. I think I now need to go to this client whose other site I've been playing on and see if they can upgrade. Okay, so I think that's given you a bit of an overview of it. Let me see what else I can show you. You can do email campaigns. You can do automations. So Squarespace is, you've got to put your, you've got to upgrade. Squarespace is moving closer to an all-in-one solution than what it had been. The other thing you can do is when they brought out Acuity, it's quite good now because you can actually It has got booking calendars and things. Make a booking already integrated into it, which again is putting it closer towards um, an all-in-one solution. This is Acuity just sitting with an integration and a native integration into Squarespace. To do certain things on this, you do have to upgrade it. Hey annually, emerging $20. That's quite an expensive upgrade compared to. So I'm saying if you want to use Acuity on Squarespace, you really can't do it as a standalone Acuity platform anymore. You should be able to do a standalone on any of the other booking systems. Just going to double check that. Can we still do a HTML? Button video. What I'm looking for is your code. Okay, so you could have a piece of HTML there that will allow you to bring in any other booking system you want. Without a HTML, you're in trouble, because this is where you would put in the HTML code off, say, a form builder or any other booking system that you wanted to use, which wasn't Squarespace. So we could look at commerce while we're here. My own website, person TikTok. Will help us to set up just where you're selling today. Don't know whether I really want to do that. Because in my, hang on, can you go back to, can you do, oh, you can do multiple. Products, payments, subscription, publish. It's improved. It is definitely improved. I'll give it that. So if you're really into e-commerce, what I haven't done it yet, but my next one will be the back end of a Shopify site, and then I'll do the back end of e-commerce. So if e-commerce is what you want to do, I would ask you to go and have a look at those videos when I put them up. By all means, go in here and play it along. I'd be surprised if this it's better. It's definitely better. Sell access to members only content. You've got to upgrade. What I would want to tell me is what's the analytics on this. And how much can I do with abandoned carts, and also what sort of email integration can I put onto this to send emails out to abandoned carts and to send emails out to anyone who purchased X widget in the last 14 days, to send them an email. That's what you want to be able to do on commerce. And cart. No data, last 30 days. I mean, it's all well and good to say, different plan. It's all well and good to say how many people abandon cart, but being able to do something with it is what's important. Not connected. Connect with Facebook. Can you connect with the top end e-commerce setups in Meta nowadays? And the fact that they're still calling it Facebook and Instagram worries me, because it's not Facebook and Instagram anymore, it's Meta. But if you're playing around in the early stages of e-commerce, it's not a bad place to start. Custom products. Yeah, that's into the various other places you can do custom merch, waitlist, track demand, waitlist products in store. I hate waitlists. Get yourself into all sorts of trouble. Related products. So that's not bad. That's nice that you do have a related products, because that's very important. Product review. So yep, they've come a long way. They've come an awful long way. And branded track, point of sale, general orders. Order confirmation, that's normal. Order fulfilled, digital. Okay, so this is where I'm looking for a abandoned cart. That's all receipts. Customer accounts, account created, no, that's all normal. Gift cards, that's normal. Members there. Where is an abandoned cart? That to me is a big one. And abandoned 24. You want more than an abandoned cart, only one abandoned cart 24 hours after. You want at least 6 is what we normally do. So unless I can actually increase that, I've got a problem. Download a report. Yeah, I want reports to give me a whole lot more than that. Okay, so if you're really interested in Squarespace, then do what I've just done. Just jump in, create yourself a free account, and have a little play, because that will tell you, you know, if you make all sorts of mistakes, then that's good. The way to learn how to do something is to make all the mistakes. And I now have about 1 million Shopify accounts. Not Shopify, Squarespace accounts. So let's go back to this one and see whether I can delete account. We should delete. There we go. Delete. Okay, well, I hope you found that interesting. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments of the video, and I will happily answer them as soon as I can. Have a great day.